Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here for the Jarred Up July collaboration with many other channels hosted by Chris at City Girl Homestead and Angela at The Inquisitive Farm Wife. And you will find the links to their playlists of the collaboration in my description box down below, which of course will take you to their channels if you would like to go check them out and maybe subscribe, and also to find all the other channels that are participating in this collaboration and maybe subscribe to them as well. So here's the interesting thing about my video is that while most people will be showing you how they're canning different things and sharing different recipes, well, around here, we're not quite into canning season yet. The things that I would can from my own garden have not come in yet. And typically, since I do all my canning outside, I like to wait until I know most of the heavy rains that we get here in Rain Country are gone. So August is usually when I do a lot of my heavy canning, August and September. But I'll be talking some about that, as well as other things that I do using jars, and especially those superb lids. Oh, and superb jars too. I have some of those as well. All made in the USA. And by the way, superb is my very favorite now lids to use for everything. And that is why I became an affiliate with them right away. And one thing I learned about this collaboration is that for this, I believe it's for the month of July, that if you go through any of the channels that you're following that are within this collaboration that have a superb affiliation, you can actually get 25% off of your order. But you need to go through their links. So just pick whoever you want. Just understand that that helps support those of us who have affiliates like this, and because we earn a small commission off of all your orders, but you actually get a better deal with the discount you're getting. So one of the focuses of today's video is that food preservation can save you money, and there's ways to save money in getting started as well, especially if you're new to it, you don't have a pressure canner or any of the other equipment needed. Well, there's some of the things you got to look at is your overall expense in the long run, as well as finding ways to save money on buying the equipment needed. So first off, when we're talking about like canners, dehydrators, and even jars, these often can be found secondhand, yard sales, garage sales, thrift stores, and the like. And I have found dehydrators for $3-5 a piece at different garage sales. I found, even though I already had my big All-American canner, it's not the biggest one, it's the second biggest. I'll put a picture of it here, sitting out on our propane burner that I use for canning. And by the way, you'll see a shield around it. My husband made that. So it's just tin that he wrapped around there to help conserve the power and prevent the wind from blowing the flame out as well. And it works really great. I don't use as much propane with that on there. But anyway, several years back, we went to a garage sale down the road of a lady that had passed away, and she had two All-American canners that were smaller than mine. And I bought them both. And she was only charging $5 a piece. We went ahead and paid her a total of $20 because I'm like, these are well worth it. One of them looked like it had never been used. The other one looked like maybe it had been used once or twice. Either way, they were virtually brand new. So I gave the larger of the two to my daughter-in-law because she was interested in getting into canning, kept the smaller one for me for when I want to do just small batches and don't want to fill up my big, huge canner. Or don't have enough to fill it up. So that's a really great price, especially for an expensive pressure canner like that. But don't feel like you have to go all American. Even though I love it, I'm glad that's the one I invested in. I know that same person had another pressure canner that my sister-in-law ended up getting for only $5 or less. And I think it was a Mirror brand. And there's several out there. As long as it works and does the job, that's all that matters. So you don't have to run out and spend 3, 5, however many hundreds of dollars these things are now. You can start doing some thrift shopping, or even find out, and like with jars, and I have so many jars now, I have not needed to buy jars in years, because we've had family members that decided they were done canning that gave us a bunch of jars. We've picked up jars down the road where they were just sitting at our neighbor's house. They were done canning. They just set all their jars out in boxes along the corner and said free. Grabbed those. And then Patrick drove to an estate sale that was a few hours away because he's seen it advertised. And there was a couple of key things that he was wanting to get. So he went and bought those items. But while he was there, the people were like, hey, could you use some jars? I am not kidding. Boxes and boxes of jars. This guy just gave to my husband. So you don't have to break the bank getting jars for doing your food preservation. You can find, if just a little diligence and watching Facebook Market or your local garage sales and the like, you can usually find jars for free or very, very cheap. Now, lids, I would say it'd be best to buy those brand new, though I reuse lids all the time. Mostly when it comes to putting up dried foods, you can reuse your lids. But one thing I found, you'll see some of these herb jars over here have just whatever lids on them, like Ball and Kerr. And these are all recycled from previously canned things. But now, because of Superb, I'm so sold on them, and they hold, whether they be brand new or recycled, they hold their seal better than any other lid that I've used. So especially when it comes to expensive things or things with fat in it that could go rancid if exposed with continued exposure to oxygen, then I use the Superb to vacuum seal, just like with my Brazil nuts. So, or the turkey right here that I dehydrated and vacuum sealed. Some other things like the eggs from my chickens. I have quite a few jars. I'm only going to use the Superb lids on that, as well as some dehydrated and powdered cheddar. These are just a few examples, and I will be showing you how I vacuum seal typically. And then right here also is a jar of cabbage. This, I don't worry so much. I don't have to worry about like dried vegetables and herbs going rancid. So I just grab whatever recycled lid is available. I have a drawer over here just with my recycled lids. So I know those are the ones that were previously used. But definitely use the Superb for anything with fat in it, anything that's going to have a higher expense or could go bad if the seal gets lost, because I've never lost a seal on any of my goods with the Superb. By the way, last year, 100% of the canning that I did, I only used Superb lids and never had one single failure. I have not had 100% success rate through a whole season like that with any other type of lid. So that was the thing that absolutely sold me for certain on Superb. So besides the fact that they are actually made in the US, unlike certain highly promoted lids that I won't bring up here. Those are just a couple of ways you can save money in getting started. But then let's look at the cost down the road. So if you're growing a garden, obviously you're going to want to have a way to put up the excess from your garden. Whenever you're not consuming right away, you want to put that up. You want to make the most of that, because it's, we call it free food, but there's work involved and sometimes cost involved. So obviously we want to make the most out of it. So having ways to put up your food, such as canning, such as pressure canning, water bath canning, and drying and then vacuum sealing, is a way you can make that stuff last for years and get the most out of it. So in the long run, whatever investment you put into it to start with is going to pay for itself and save you money. And also the other thing is, if you're buying things in bulk, such as the Brazil nuts, for example. I get them from Azure Standard. I buy them in bulk. So I can get the best price, and also know I'm getting organic so that I can have them for a long time rather than just buying a little bit at a time. When you're able to buy the things that maybe you can't grow and you buy those in bulk, you're getting a better price per pound. But obviously buying in bulk means, well, you either got to use it all up right away or you got to preserve it. So by being able to preserve it, that gives you the freedom to buy in bulk and get that lower price on whatever it is that you want to put into your food storage. Since I'm not canning right now, I'll just cover a few things I do like to put up. Usually if I can get my hands on some good peaches, we do can those up, which they should be in season right now, but unfortunately I haven't been able to get, for the last couple of years, some good fresh peaches to can up. So otherwise I'd be doing that probably right now. But I also will can the plums from my own tree, which I was thrilled to do last year, as you can see in this image here, using all, by the way, superb jars and lids in that. But this year we got a late frost, killed all our blossoms, and no plums. So won't be doing that this year. Some of my other favorite things to can are the green beans from my garden. I usually try to make sure I have enough for a couple of years. Some of the potatoes I get out of the garden, and juice from my own grapes. Now, there also are things that I will like to can up that I try to do at the same time of the year that we have the canner out, will be things like meats or even homemade meatballs. That's a really great thing to can up. Carrots, we don't usually get enough carrots to bother canning, so I do other things with those. So if I can get a good price on some bulk organic carrots like from Azure, then I'll can those up. And then of course there are the jams from our blackberries and currants and raspberries. But the funny thing is over the years, though I was canning a ton of stuff, through the years, especially since I started my channel in 2016, I have come to a point where I can less and less, and I dehydrate more because of the space it saves. But still, these things get vacuum sealed into jars. So one of the things that I put up a lot of are my tomatoes, because tomatoes are a main staple here, because I use them for making Italian sauces for homemade pizza, lasagna, ravioli, spaghetti. They also get used in making chili, barbecue sauce, and more. So I like to have a lot. Well, one thing I found over the years is that pureeing them, dehydrating them, and then flaking them up and vacuum sealing into jars saves me a ton of space, and I don't have to wait until I have enough to fill up my whole canner. I can just dehydrate them as they're coming in and jar them up. So I love that. It is now the only way, well, I shouldn't say the only way I put up tomatoes. Every now and then I do like to dice them up, coat them in just a little bit of oil, and then dry them. And those are good for just if you want little pieces of tomatoes in your soups and the like. So I'll do that sometimes, but definitely the tomato flakes are the number one way. And like I always like to tell people, the reason I don't powder it, which would save even more space, is that tomatoes have this funny way of, as soon as you open the jar, it doesn't take long before the powder will turn to a brick. But the flakes, I don't vacuum seal in between each use. And so I have a jar in here that's open, and when I work through it, as I'm working through it, I never have to worry about it turning to a brick in the jar and then becoming impossible to get out. I learned that one through experience. So this is why I flake them instead, but still save a ton of space. Now, some other things I'll put up from my garden that I'll dehydrate are zucchini. I chop it up, I basically dice it, dry it, and then jar it up. It gets added to a lot of my Italian sauces. Sometimes I'll reconstitute it, use it in stir fries, gets added to every soup that I make. It's just a great way to really save space, because zucchini has so much water in it that you can put like 8 zucchini in 1 quart jar. It's crazy. And then you can also powder that dried zucchini up and use it in your various breads, which I also like to do, whether it be pancakes, hamburger buns, just regular loaf bread, even cookies. And you can cut back a little bit on the grain flour and add a little more nutrition to whatever it is you're making. And then of course all of my herbs get jarred up, all the herbs from my garden. I have these jars out here because this is currently what is in my dehydrator, or what I'm dehydrating this week. So I've got red clover, arnica flowers, comfrey leaves, and plantain leaves. I also have another 3 dozen eggs in the other dehydrator that I'll be jarring up. So that, in case anything happens to our chickens or they just slow down way too much in the winter, I have backups. You can fit almost 3 dozen eggs in 1 quart jar. So I would say it's probably somewhere between 32 to 34 eggs. I can't quite get the full 3 dozen, so whatever's remaining, I just pour it into the jar that I'm working through up here. So I'm going to show you very quickly here, even though my rhubarb, because I dehydrate up my rhubarb and then powder it and use it in pies, crisps, and more, it's great. But I like to keep it whole in case I ever want to just use the whole pieces and anything, which I do from time to time. But this jar, I haven't vacuum sealed it yet because, well, I need to dry more and get it in there. So but I'll go ahead and demonstrate because it's not that hard to reopen it and add stuff to it. Now, my favorite thing to use is the Food Saver top. You can get these for a pretty good price. You can get a set of 2 of the regular mouth and the wide mouth. And then to do the vacuum sealing, I just use a brake bleeder pump. And so I've been using the same pump for 10 years. And you can get the kit on Amazon for like $25. I think I have one added in my Amazon store link you'll find in the description box. And this is the tip I like to use. There's other types of tips and some people do it different ways, but I just take that tip and stick it in the hole in the top of the Food Saver lid, and then I rest this on the counter, and then I just start pumping, and I use my whole arm, not just my hand. And that way, especially those of you who have arthritis or just weak hands in general, making sure you use your whole arm clear up to the shoulder, you're going to save your hands that way. And anyway, I just pump. I used to say I pumped until the needle was straight up and down. Now I just keep going until the needle stops moving. Sometimes you're going to have a lot more air in there, like this is going to have more air because the jar isn't entirely full. Okay, so there it is. Pull that out, and then I test it by picking it up by the lid, and it is sealed. And in this case, I definitely put bands on all my dried goods just in case something does come unsealed. This is important. And there you go. Now I will also leave anything I just vacuum sealed out for at least a day and test it to see if anything came unsealed. If something came unsealed, I check the lid again, make sure there's no nicks or something maybe embedded in the gasket part of it, the little rubbery part. Then I'll try it again. If it happens again, then I'll throw that lid out and try again. But I also check the jar though, because the jar can have little nicks or cracks or maybe even just defects in the making process. And by the way, I do have other ways of vacuum sealing. My husband made a vacuum chamber that we do sell, by the way, for anyone who's interested. The nice thing about the chamber is that it works good. I still use a brake bleeder pump without the tip. I just stick it onto the little port at the bottom, and then I can use that for vacuum sealing recycled product jars, such as green olive jars, artichoke heart jars, etc. And I can vacuum seal all kinds of stuff in that. And another thing I do like to use jars for is fermenting. In fact, I'm going to be making some kimchi here very soon, and I use my jars for that. So it's another way you can preserve food and jar it up in a fermented form. And so I'm going to be making some kimchi, and then when my snow peas are all coming in, I'm going to be fermenting a bunch of those. I really love fermented snow peas. Not only are they good as a snack, I find that of all the ways I've preserved snow peas, those tend to hold their crispness best. Usually I will freeze them, and I'll still do that with some of them, because even the fermented snow peas, if they go for too long, they can still get mushy, even with a grape leaf or horseradish leaf in there, which horseradish is my favorite for that, to preserve crispness. I think it works better than grape leaves and adds a nice flavor. I would say about 6 months in, they still have a nice crispness to them. So adding to stir fries and the like, fermenting is the way to go for that if you really want to help keep that texture. Freezing is the second best, and guess what? I freeze in jars, so they're still getting jarred up whether they're being fermented or frozen. If you'd like to learn more about some of the dehydrating things I was talking about, like the cheddar and the eggs or the rhubarb or the cabbage or anything like that, I will try to link to a few of these videos down below in the description box, along with the links that I was talking about to the full playlist of the Jarred Up July. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to put those in comments down below. And don't forget to check out the other channels that are part of this collaboration and show them some love and support. And I want to thank Chris and Angela for inviting me to be a part of this. I don't always get a chance to be a part of collaborations. I don't always get asked. So I was really blessed to be a part of this. Thank you so much. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.